Barini.
And I'm Kelsey Paul.
And you're watching It's Today for WHIT Radio.org.
Good morning, Laser Kitties. It's the It's Today show with Ida and Kelsey, except there's not really any Kelsey here today. I mean, like, she's right here. I don't know if she's on camera, though, but she's my moral support. So today, I'm doing it solo, and today is another poetry day. I gave you guys a snippet of what my anthology, like I said, from Mr. Mooney's class was, and I've been very proud of it, so I thought that I'd do a radio show about it. So like I said before, my anthology was called What We Beheld, because it had a variety of topics that I covered in it, and even when I presented it to him, he said that I covered a diverse range of topics, which I tried to do, because I feel like poetry is such a diverse thing, and the one poem can have a diverse effect on everyone. It could mean something different to me than it does to Kelsey or whoever. So that's why I said that it's what we behold that shapes us into who we are, and who we are shapes us into what kind of poetry we like, and in some ways what kind of poetry like kind of affects the world. So I separated it into 3 clusters, and my first cluster was called To Craft Your Own Drum, and that cluster was basically, it mirrored my my journey through poetry, and it also gave a bit of admiration for the poets of today and from long past. So this anthology had 3 poems in it. And like I said, my journey through poetry was very stubborn and sure of myself. I did not like poetry at all. I thought it was just the boring Dr. Seuss, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I don't even like Shakespeare too much, which is surprising, right? I don't really get some of his stuff. Maybe I need to wait till I'm a bit older, but so that's why it's called To Craft Your Own Drum, because a drum is something, it has a steady beat, and that was my mindset, to be a steady flow of, to be steady and sure of myself that I really, really, really don't like poetry. And then my next cluster was called To Be of Adam's Blood, because during the course of this year, we began to delve into not only short stories, we read some Baldwin, we read all this stuff. Of course, we did poetry too, and I guess Mr. Mooney really likes the human condition and all of that stuff. So we started talking about that a lot, what is it to be human, and we even brushed on society, we have our human laws, but is there a higher law that kind of binds us morally past everything? And I found that I'm really, really interested in stuff like that. So To Be of Adam's Blood features a lot of poems from a diverse range of authors, whether it be recent, Rudy Francisco, or basically ancient, Saadi and Hafez. And those are Persian poets that I really, really love. I grew up with my father and my mother loving Persian poetry, and so they passed it on to me, and I really love it, because a lot of the times language, when you translate it, it loses a lot of its beauty, because the beauty of it lies in the fact that it's a foreign language. So I put those, and I put rough translations of those. And I also included my own poem, and Kelsey knows about my poem too. It's called A Unicorn's Horn, and it's a poem that I wrote when I was really, really young, 8, I don't know, really young. And it was back when I thought that poetry needed to rhyme, and I wrote it was basically jealousy between a unicorn and a horse, and looking back on that, I decided, going through some of my old works, that I should revise it and kind of look at it and see where I was compared to where I am. And what I discovered really shocked me, that it's kind of like I was communicating a message from when I was younger to when I was older, saying things that I'd forgotten that used to bother me or used to be hard for me. So it was really an incredible thing to go back and look at all these things and analyze them and see, well, what did I mean from these? Because who better to know than me? So my last cluster, it has 3 poems in it, And like I said in my foreword, which is, what was it? It was like a 7-page introduction that I had in the beginning of my anthology. This isn't really the last poetry cluster of this anthology. It's the last cluster that I've collected so far. It's kind of the emerging from what I've learned. The first cluster was very stubborn. The second cluster was so like exploratory. And then the third cluster is so, I've learned this message, now how can I pass it on? And I think I've did a good job because I got a lot of different topics. I got Sarah Kay in there and her message to her someday daughter. I got a Belgian singer-songwriter, which I don't even know how I found him. I just did, and I'm lucky I did. And then I did a continuation of my last poem. So I said if I wanted to revise the poem that I wrote when I was 8, 7, whatever, what would it be like, and how would I like approach this? And it was actually really difficult, and to be honest, I'm not so like perfectly happy with it. I mean, I'm never really perfectly happy with my poetry, but I had a few drafts and I sent it to my friends, and every time it came out so the last draft that I tried to do, I tried to loosen it up a bit and say, well, I can't make it perfect, but I'll just say what I feel, basically. And it's a continuation / a better ending, because the last one ended that no matter what you do, a horse will never be as beautiful as, or as magical and mystical as the legendary unicorn, or whatever it is. But in this next one, I've kind of reshaped my view on, I guess, just the whole world, because I thought, now, if you try and you try and you try, there is something special about everyone that you just need to discover. So, I mean, I'm really proud of myself, and I feel like this anthology was not so much a journey through poetry, which it was, but also like a journey through myself, and it had identity, it had worldviews, it had everything. And I also reflected all of this onto the aesthetics that I chose for my project. So, since it is called What We Beheld, on the front cover, I wish I had it to show, but on the front cover, there's this beautiful, beautiful picture that I found of this woman in a wheelchair, and this like decrepit old lady, and then she sees her own shadow as like a beautiful ballerina. So it's like nobody else sees her. Oh my gosh, I can hear my echo. Okay, that's distracting me. So it's like she sees herself as beautiful, and in a way that's kind of all that matters. So I thought that would be a really beautiful cover photo. And I also I went to Michael's and I got like a bunch of little tiny mirror tiles, and I glued them onto the front cover in a design. And I also put 1 or 2 on every single page after that, because it's what we behold, and what better to show us than a mirror. What else did I do for my aesthetics? I used glitter, of course. And on the back cover, I had a white bird on a black background, and it was just soaring through the sky. My idea for my anthology, like the aesthetics, was that the front and the back should be kind of plain and sort of like a black and white scale, like if you just glance at something, it's nothing special. But then when you open it up, it has all these different colors and all these different textures, and it has flowers and like glitter and like mirrors and everything like that. And also, I'd like to thank the art teachers for helping me bind it, because do you remember that? Like right before homeroom, I went to them because I've been trying to like hole punch it like the whole night, but I couldn't. So I went to the art teachers, and they got their little X-Acto knife, and they were just sitting there helping me cut through it, and we tied ribbon around it, and it came out really well. So this was my anthology, and these are my poems. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. They mean a lot to me, so thank you. Bye, Laser Kitties.